Commission meeting on June 26th. And it is 7:01 p.m. So may I have a motion to start the meeting?
Make a motion to start.
Marley and Drew, great.
Second, is that good?
Yep, Marley and then Drew.
Oh, okay. All right. Did you get, okay. So,
Do we have the agenda or just the email that you sent that has the overview of all the?
actually, in that email, I had the agenda. I attached the agenda and the minutes that have to be voted on today. The very first email before I left
Okay.
was June.
Okay, sorry, I gotta go back to get that then.
Yeah.
So we should take a look at those. Well, here they are. Yep. Special meeting and draft minutes. I sent these back to you, right? And I said they were fine.
Don't recall because I didn't see that. So, did not see that email come across, but if everyone thinks they're good, you guys can approve it. If you thought they were good and everybody's good with them, you guys could make a motion to approve.
Well, hold up. What are we approving here? I mean, let's
The minutes from the last meeting.
Oh, the minutes. Okay.
Yeah.
Thought we were
This is
talking
an
about the
email
rate.
that Stacy sent. Stacy sent the email on June 5th.
Mhm.
And it had the draft minutes for the
May 1st
Wednesday,
meeting.
May 1st meeting.
Okay.
I had to miss that meeting, so I have no comments on it. But
I thought Stacy, I had sent you back an email that said, let's talk about because this has will result in only 10 spaces lost. And I recall responding to you saying, what about the reduction in the business permits?
That was before even I attached it, and yes, that email way before you did send it. My apologies, and I remember answering it that we're actually losing 10 spaces, and we actually gained one because we're losing 11 business permits, so we're getting
Right.
back spaces.
It was
so
a net +1.
Yes. So I just put it out there to make sure that nobody else has anything to change, or if it's all good with everybody else, just approve those minutes. Okay, so if you want to make a motion, if somebody, Drew, Katie is sick, go ahead. I'm sorry, I want to take over. Okay, I'll make a motion to approve the minutes.
Yeah, okay. Anybody second?
I'll second.
All right. All right, so we have approved the minutes from the May 1 regularly scheduled meeting. And now we can go on to the agenda topics of this special meeting, which includes discussing the permit parking.
So I hope you all received in that first email with the minutes and the agenda. I gave you a breakdown of the current permit prices. Okay, historically, how long it's been at this rate, and historically what the parking commission used to raise the rates at, what percentage if they were to raise it. I also did a little research again for some of the surrounding towns. I sent that out to you, I believe it was Monday, on what some of the surrounding towns and their permit prices are, to kind of give you an idea of what our surrounding towns are looking at. as you guys make the decision on what our commuter permit prices will be moving for the fiscal year 24-25.
Are their fiscal years the same calendar, calendarization as ours? Does
I
it
don't
start-
think so. I think everybody's a little different. I think Darien starts at a different time, Westport starts at a different time. I'm not sure what their permit years start, but no, they don't always follow exactly what we're doing.
Okay,
They're not always
So
a year.
it's not exactly apples to apples.
Well, it is an annual fee, but their annuals do not start always in July 1st. So, September 1st, I'm sorry, September 1st. Ours starts September 1st, yeah.
The schools are July. That's what I
The businesses, yeah, are July 1st, yes.
And do you, or is anybody aware whether or not Darien is actually accepting new permits, or if they have do they have an out of town resident, change in fee? Do they accept out of town residents? I believe they do.
Do accept out of town residents, they do have a waiting list. I can tell you if, according to the website, I think they charge the same fee for everybody. I do not think there's a different fee. As we do, we charge the same fee for our non-residents as, at Talmadge Hill as we do for our residents. There's not a
Right.
difference.
Because we're, basically 39% higher at the old rate, than Darien. And I didn't do the math on the new rate, but,
And for fewer
and it's
trains.
hard. Pardon?
Yeah, for fewer
fewer
trains,
trains.
not a direct train,
Right.
sometimes have to make a change. I agree.
That's why I tried to provide you with some of their costs so that you could,
Yeah,
you want to move forward. I will share with you that right now, I just ran the numbers. As of today, we have a total of 544 lumberyard permits out, 274 Talmadge Hill permits, and 12 Richmond Hill permits. As I move down on the wait list, we're bypassing Richmond Hill. We have a wait list of only 97 people, which is unheard of in my 20 some odd years here. So I have actively been making calls. And we still have space in the lumberyard lot. So I continue to move down on the list.
So to go up back to pricing, Darien currently is at 478 and change. And we are proposing to, again, looking at the lumberyard, go to 676, but even Richmond Hill, Talmadge Hill, let's call Talmadge Hill because that's actually next to the platform. They're at 513, or will be under the proposed fee with tax. Yeah, so it's
That's only
a
if you
good
decide to go
good
up.
35-40 bucks.
Yeah, that's only if
Percent.
you decided to
Yep.
go up to 2% historically, like the parking commission used to do. That's all I gave you the numbers for. Just to see, but again, up to you members, whether you want to stay at what we are, go up 1%, propose down.
So what you're saying is you just suggested the usual increase from historical times. This is not
Exactly.
something the Board of Selectmen has suggested or anything like that.
No,
Okay.
no, I've just given you some historical data.
Sure.
and there isn't necessarily a budget quota that you've been asked to meet.
I have not, nope.
Why is the lumber yard so much more expensive? Upkeep or maintenance or?
No, the reason they did the difference in the fees was that they felt that the lumberyard lot was the most sought after lot. And at the time they did make the difference in the fee, it still is. And I'm not saying that it's not. So at the time, they felt that because it was the most in-demand lot, we had the largest wait list, that they wanted to make it a higher fee. Maybe some people would go off of the wait list because of the fee difference. If they were kind of equal distance from either lot, they would stay at Talmadge Hill for the lesser amount. Or if they really wanted the lumberyard, go to the lumberyard. That was the thinking behind the fee difference.
I mean, it makes sense to charge more for proximity.
Right.
I mean, look, this is where I come down. You know, we're coming out of the pandemic, which threw everything into disarray. We weren't filling the lots. Now we seem to be at least 3 days a week. You're getting the wait list down. I would love for it to be 0. And it's kind of hard to tell, you know, what is the correct price for the lumberyard to fill that, and yet, you know, push anybody else to the outer lot. So I don't know. I initially wanted to play around with pricing, but given the competition and the train service changes, I'm kind of loath to increase if it puts us further away from our competitors. And it gives us more time to kind of get rid of the wait list and see, you know, how full we can get this thing.
Right.
Because if it's still empty, then what does that tell you? I guess we're charging too much, or some of it could go to business permits, perhaps. A couple different things. Interested in others.
Lumberyard lot?
I
Other than
couldn't, I agree.
Avalon, the 220 Elm Street, no. The only permits for businesses is the 220 Elm and the Bank of New Canaan. Those are the only ones, but that's the negotiation through that contract. But other than that, no.
I have a perception feeling here, and that's that when I look at Darien, I see $478 and I think $500. The lumberyard with the new fee with tax, $676. I feel like that's encroaching on 1,000. You know, it just mentally puts me in a different place. It's like, if someone's gonna charge me $450 for an ice cream cone, I think that's $5. But if it's $650, I think it's $10, you know? So just something to think about.
Well, regardless, even if it's $7, it's still $200 more than $5 or $2 more than $5. So which is whatever that is. It's, you know, 40% for 30-something%. So,
I mean, we're charging like the same price as you can to park in a garage in Greenwich, like for not the same amount of service, you know, parking lot.
They're
that
a half an
probably
hour closer, right?
right,
paved,
and
it's
they have more frequent
closer.
trains.
It's
And
kind of,
even
it's
though
just like
that-
wild.
Even though there are more trains in Darien, it's very convenient to park in New Canaan if the number of trains work for you. That's for sure.
Right, but there aren't the number of trains, and it's, you know, I go to Darien and I live almost in Pound Ridge. I mean, I agree with Drew. I think we are at an inflection point, you know, in terms of sort of whatever the new normal is, and you know, things are sort of stable. So it feels as though there's more of a pattern that we can analyze and understand. You know, maybe it comes down to some sort of a commodity pricing kind of a thing, you know, where it's on Mondays, Wednesdays, Fridays. It's, you know, 3 days if there's whatever the technology is. We've talked about, you know, looking into new technologies. So my view would be to keep it flat for the next cycle, and use that time to analyze, you know, more of the metrics, and then decide how we're going to manage it and monetize it.
So keep it currently at what it is. Base price for the lumberyard, $624. Base price for Richmond and Talmadge, $474. Sales tax, that we can't change that. But keep that flat it at that rate for this upcoming fiscal year.
Yeah. You know, again, if there were some budgetary pressure or
I was
some,
literally just gonna say that. We don't even know what we need the money, how much money we need from it. Do we put more like day parking at Lumberyard? I know a lot of people who want to park there, 3 days a week, 2 days a week, one day,
Once we exhaust that wait list, which, from what I'm seeing, we will be pretty close unless something unusual happens through this next upcoming year, and probably even before the year, like even towards the middle of this next permit year. Then if we still have the availability, you guys could discuss how you want to use those spaces, and think
I think
outside
there's
the
a
box.
demand for them.
We could, anything's up for discussion after that, once the list is exhausted. So,
Yeah, I don't see a compelling reason at this point to increase, so.
there's, again, there's no recommendations that I have been told to, tell you. I just gave you, like I said, some background and historical data, just so you know how the increases used to be, so you can make your decision. And again, it's your recommendation, and then I take that to the Board of Selectmen. On your
Well, I think it's
recommendation.
been good to know the history and then to see sort of where we are now. We're in a new normal. We're just sort of feeling our way around this, and yeah, I agree. There's not really a compelling reason to increase. The demand, that's not there, as our waiting list is shrinking. So,
It's not like there's a whole lot of moves coming in because the housing market is so tight.
yeah, there's nothing to buy.
So, one thought that comes to mind is, do all of the other towns, the Darien, Westport, Fairfield, Greenwich, Stamford might be a little different, but do they have a parking commission that's made up of a similar citizen body? Or do they have a manager of parking?
I know Darien works totally different. I don't know if they have a commission. I don't believe they do. I can't answer for any of the other towns on how it works. They do have, Darien has a parking person, but I think a lot of the managerial decisions are made through their selectman's office and their town administrative office and things like that. They have somebody that works in parking, but they don't have all the decisions are made through, I believe, their administrative town administrative officer and the selectman.
It says that on their website, yeah, that the Board of Selectmen act as the parking authority for
Oh,
Darien.
okay.
I do believe Westport has its own parking department. They do have different people in there that do different things, but again, I think, it comes back to their, I guess, selectmen, their town administrators on final decisions, like here as well as the Board of Selectmen. So, but I don't know how they go about determining the pricing for their permits. I can't speak to that.
Well, I guess, where I'm going with this is that would it make sense to get whomever the right people are involved in a room or on a Zoom, and simply get a sense of what their market conditions are, what they're facing. I have to imagine that there's a lot of the same, and just sort of share best practices. There might be some learning there in terms of technologies that people are using. There might be some economies of scale if we were to adopt similar technologies across, across our ERG, or, whatever you want to call it, just these neighboring towns. you know, so I think that there would be an opportunity to learn a little bit. And then also we could get a sense of when their cycles are, which would be helpful because, you know, if our cycle is September 1 and theirs is, I don't know, January 1, and somebody from New Canaan doesn't want to spend, you know, whatever the new rate is, or, you know, even the old rate, they can go down to Darien and get a parking permit. They might have to drive 10 minutes more, but they're going to get better trains and faster service. So,
But Darien has a significant waiting list, so I will just let you know that. For permits in both their lots. And I don't know how quickly they're moving down on their wait list, but they do have a wait list, so
I would think a lot of people
Yeah.
from New Canaan are on their wait list.
could be, yeah,
probably, and they might even, you know,
Both.
yeah.
they might
no,
let us know.
Norton Heights, I think is their
Mhm.
resident area.
Oh, I see. So, right, and they've got two fairly sizable, you know, Darien, the main Darien is tighter, but yeah,
Heights is huge. I mean, you can always park there as a daily.
yeah. And you can also, you know, Glenbrook has a lot too, if you wanted to even go further down the line. So anyway, am I correct in thinking that at this meeting, the attending commissioners are in agreement that we should not raise the rates for the next cycle commencing July 1, rather September 1?
Yeah, I'm in agreement with that.
Okay,
I
and
think I
that's,
need a motion.
before you make your motion, and that will include the non-resident permits for Talmadge as well. I just wanna, because.
Yeah.
Okay, perfect. I just wanna add that in too. So it'll be a motion on all permits.
Right, well, because especially like Wilton's not on here, but we do know Wilton doesn't have a fee. And yet, you know, we may get people that come in from Wilton or Pound Ridge that want to pay that money. So,
We do. Okay, so,
Are most of our out-of-towners at Talmadge Lumberyard?
only at Talmadge,
Only at Talmadge.
now,
That's right.
only at
That's right.
Talmadge.
That's right. I thought I.
yeah, only at Talmadge.
Not even Richmond Hill.
No, it's only offered at Talmadge.
well, we should consider opening up Richmond Hill to out-of-towners if there's only, what, the 12
Well, permits,
permits.
yeah.
Right now, we're using that as a multi-use business permit lot, so.
Oh,
we
okay,
to open that up because it is for the businesses in and around that area, off of Pine Street and the upper part of Elm Street. We give business permits there too, so.
Are they using it? I mean, I drive by it like 17 times a
Oh, it's
day and it
empty.
always seems empty.
Are they, we do find it that there are people, I know that there are certain businesses that are using it. I can't speak for all of them. But we do have a pretty large amount of people that park there, that have actually.
That
requested.
are paying for it. Like, we don't care if they are using it or not. We just want
Yeah,
to
the
pay for
business
it.
permits are for free in that lot, just,
Oh.
yeah, just like our Locust, that's like Locust and Center.
And I think that use might increase if we do the metered parking on Elm Street, flip the free up to Park Street, because a lot of people do, a lot of workers on Upper Elm Street park in that upper part, so if
They'll move down.
they'll move down to Richmond Hill, I think.
So and get some permits there. But yeah,
So-
it's been utilized.
So in that lot, there's like, you get ticketed if your license plate isn't on the permit, the free business permit for that lot.
I'm sorry.
Like, how do we know that people who are like, we have business permits in that lot, but they're free, right? So do they assign like a license plate or something to it?
Yeah, it's just
Okay.
like a regular permit. So a
Okay.
business permit, they register it with us and it comes up under, we have a business code, let's just say. So when the officer pulls up that plate number, he can tell whether it's a commuter permit or a business permit in that
Got it,
lot.
got it.
So
Alright.
if you guys are all okay with the fact that you want to keep everything flat, you guys can make the motion, and then I will bring it to the Board of Selectmen at their next meeting. And we will go from there, and then we can set the permit year in motion.
And you'll summarize our reasoning?
The rationale needs to be supported of, you know,
Right, that you got, yes, that because of COVID, it's not being utilized as much, that other surrounding towns are less with more train availability. So we feel that not raising it due to
We don't want to lose our competitive
we don't
edge.
want to lose, we don't want to lose commuters to other stations because they have more availability and their permits are less if they offer non-resident permits. And then hopefully we can also continue to move down on the wait list, and more people will take the permits.
Yeah, because our closest comp is Darien at almost $200 cheaper than Lumberyard.
right. It's crazy.
I mean, I think that's the point that sort of like needs to come across, right? That we are charging a super premium for subpar service and demand.
I mean, it is what it is, you know, it's not that we're not on the main line, but yeah, I mean, we have fewer trains. And what's interesting to me is the fact that they're flat across Darien and and Norotan.
Right.
And they're not sort of parsing out the lots based on the demand. I mean, so that's,
Greenwich is the same way too. They're all the same.
To their website, yeah. Oh, Greenwich, yeah. Except the garage,
right,
Right. But the
but the other lots.
right. Yeah. So that's a little different as well. And maybe we would look to, maybe there's an opening that we would ostensibly raise Talmadge Hill to make it on par with the lumberyard at whatever the right time is, depending on what the usage is. But so maybe there's the opportunity if again there's a budgetary goal here. But and it might make it simpler for people.
I mean, ultimately, the selectmen have the final say in this, right? Like
Right.
with all the budget cuts that we have been going on
Thank
this
you.
year. I mean, I can't imagine they'll be thrilled with a flat parking thing, but I mean, it kind of is what it is based on our reasoning. So I mean, ultimately, they could say we're going to raise it, right? And we have to do it.
You are
Yeah, but
basically making a recommendation, bringing your recommendation to them with the reasoning behind your recommendation. Could they raise it? Absolutely.
They don't
they
seem
lower
inclined to raise rates on residents, just like they don't seem inclined to raise taxes on residents. So it's cutting back, it's cutting services
Yeah.
is how they're balancing. And now we have a surplus, it seems. So anyway,
Funny how that works.
yeah, the crisis that wasn't. Anyway, should we have a vote?
I think we need a motion.
I motion to keep the commuter parking lot fees, what's the word? Not to increase the commuter parking fees for this upcoming permit period, starting in September.
Second.
All right,
That's a motion to vote on it, and
a
then
motion to vote.
I,
Aye. Katie, aye. Morley, aye. All
Okay.
in favor, Evan in abstention.
Second motion, and it's unanimous. All right.
Correct. But I do think it would be worthwhile to get some sort of a little powwow going on with those neighbors and just understand their approach and thinking. I don't know. Does anybody have any thoughts on that? Yes, no, never?
I mean, I think we're all playing in the same sandbox, so I'm always for collaboration. I don't know, again, it's the different towns like don't all have like us. So getting a selectman to sit down with us might be more difficult to talk about it. If they're not like as in the weeds on it, they just kind of like act on it. But yes, I mean,
Yeah.
you know,
Well,
The
they
short
could
answer
get a
is yes.
proxy. Yeah,
I don't know how difficult that is.
yeah, I don't know how we'd go about doing that other than to, throw out an email and ask and or suggest that this may be an
Mhm.
opportunity and, because again, I think the bigger challenge is that, everything's changed. And to the extent that it's changed, it's also stabilized. Unless we're going to have another huge pandemic, I mean, the whole work from home remote thing seems to have kind of found its own groove. It is what it is for now. And,
Sure.
Well, I
so
do feel like it's changing, Nancy. I mean, I'm hearing more and more people going back into offices 4 and 5 days a week. And that's surprising me, but I am seeing it just among people I know.
in what kind of vertical, like in the financial markets primarily? Yeah. But in
Which-
other markets, what are
No, but I'll
advertising?
tell you what, I overlooked the lumberyard lot, and last week on Juneteenth, there were about 10 cars in that lot. So and the markets were closed, so it's heavily financial parking there. That
Yeah.
was just striking.
Right.
It's
So
funny, it had,
that's what I'm saying, is I think that is a little bit in flux because they're starting to require people put in more days in their offices that they're paying enormous rents on.
But I've also seen, I know people, this is anecdotal, they're in Manhattan, then they're in Stanford, and then, so maybe they're in Stanford 2 days a week, Manhattan 2 days a week, and at home 1 day a week. In fact, I was just hearing about that this morning. So, every firm is different, but those were the early movers and the first ones to, demand that their people come back. But I mean, we're a small business. We have an office in Stanford, so we're not even in the commuting business, but we actually closed our office in April and are now 100% remote. We have a one workspace spot. We get together there. So that's an outlier maybe, but nevertheless, it is what it is. So
Well, unless they add more trains in New Canaan, I'm not sure we're gonna see a lot of change in New Canaan anyway.
well, but to your point, Nancy, earlier, like we would take another pandemic. I mean, we were just about to have congestion pricing. That would have been interesting to see how that would have affected, probably not the regular business commuters, but for people who do leisure, who would maybe drive in for an evening. Now, maybe they would take the train. Potentially, who knows? Doesn't seem like we'll ever get the answer to that, but we'll see if it comes back. Anyway,
no, but
the
I
other
do think,
thing, sorry,
oh, so go ahead.
no, I mean, the other advantage of talking to other towns is maybe we get some advice. Maybe they're further down the technological route potentially. Some of them have ramps, then they probably definitely are, because those are much more metered than a lot probably. So anyway, just a thought.
Yeah, without a doubt, so anyway, that's our view. And
Okay.
as per our regulations, there was no confabs prior to this. So this is all independent thought coming together.
That's perfect. So great, I will bring this to the Board of Selectmen. They're not meeting, I don't think it's, this upcoming Tuesday, I think, what is it, the 9th, whatever the following Tuesday is. So I will, have it put on the agenda, and then I will let you know, at our July 10th meeting, which will be the next day then.
July 10th. Gosh, that seems really close.
Around, yeah, yeah. Well, the only reason,
Yeah.
I needed the special meeting because we needed to get these, on the, agenda for the Board of Selectmen. It was
Mhm.
kind of a time crunch.
Yeah, of course, right. All right. So I
Right.
guess if we all have any other thoughts on agenda items we want to add to July 10th, we ought to send them your way. All right.
Perfect. Thank you all. Much
Good to know.
appreciated. You have a
Thank
great night.
you.
Thanks again. Take care.
Thank
Thank you.
you.
Good night.
Bye.
Bye.
Oh, wait, we gotta end the meeting, Nancy, before you
Oh,
go.
goodness.
meeting.
Yes, sorry. I
That's
know,
okay.
I know.
We'll get it.
Yes,
Don't
I
worry.
will formally call the meeting adjourned. It's 7:36 PM on Wednesday, July 26th, 2024.
June.
June, thank you
For the minutes,
Oh my God.
for the minutes.
for the minutes.
All
Yeah, who's
right.
the minutes now that Kevin's not here? He can
Thank
watch the recording. That's what
Okay.
have him watch the recording and he can do the minutes. Yeah.
Sounds great. Thank
Thanks,
you.
Nancy.
All
Take
right.
care.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Take care.